thanks for taking the time. I know you're moving and all that stuff, but
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I just watching you from afar. I know we interacted. When was that, man? 2016?
Yeah, yeah, it's around
15?
14, 15, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 2014, 15. I got sick in 16. Left.
Yeah, what
Right.
happened?
What's that?
What happened?
I got cancer, bro.
Oh, really? What
Yeah,
kind?
yeah. I left Portland. I got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Mm,
and so I think they call it large B-cell diffuse non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and so the tumor was in this armpit right here, and it grew pretty fast. And I remember at our preview office on Burnside, I would do push-ups in the pre-sale, and I just feel a rub, like the muscle would glide. Thought nothing of it.
right.
A year passes, and I'm done taking a shower, drying off. And then when I dry off my armpit, my hand does this. Just didn't think anything of it. I went, well, that's weird. I must have a swollen gland or something like that. But one of our members was a doctor. And I remember she has passed. She was our very first member at Move.
Mm.
And I remember pulling her aside, and she since has passed from cancer as well. It's really crazy. But we were in the space, and I said, hey, will you take a look at this, just visually? She looks at it, and she says, you need to go see somebody now. So they did a biopsy. And 6 chemo rounds, 25 radiation rounds. Jack was great, and Joel and Chip. They said, hey, do your treatment. Like, it's the different life for you now. Go back home. Like, this is not. You need to focus on your family, staying alive, fighting, all that stuff. So Jack gave me an invite to come back up to the Edmonds area, just rest, and said, hey, help me with my marketing and my training department while you rest and recover, because I still had to drive down to Portland to get radiation.
Mm.
So that's how I left. That's how I left that area, man. Pretty
Man.
well. Pretty well. Perspective.
So, how are you doing now?
I'm good. I'm in remission. Thank the Lord. I'm in remission now. 2016. So 6-7 years, going on 7. So a lot of praises to be had. Great medical team. It was really cool. And I know you've probably experienced this when you just chat with people and you don't realize, you kind of just how you act, how you behave, your actions, and the things you put into action. And people are, over the years, still like, I had somebody reach out to me last week, a week and a half ago, and just like, hey, I really appreciate how you carried yourself. I never had a chance to tell you. Like, thanks, dude. I haven't talked to you in 25 years.
Right.
He's just like, I saw it afar via social, and it was cool. And so yeah, that's what happened, and here we are, brother.
Well, I'm glad you're healthy, and gosh, I'm sure going through something like that is humbling, and it puts life in a different perspective, and I'm sure you're grateful for every day.
That's just the way to be, right? I mean, it's interesting when you're faced with something like that, how quickly anger sets in, at least for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anger sets in. I had just found my faith again. So I was really pissed off. Really pissed off. Like, okay, so this is what it's about. Like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. That lasted literally probably about 5 minutes. And I mean, it was pretty wild in terms of now you have, for me, there's this moment that I can now run this filter through. I run it through my faith filter, and I now run it through this filter of sitting in that chair. And I can only imagine, I mean, the stuff you've done, you've run across so many people, I'm sure for yourself as well. There are these seminal moments as a father, as a husband, and I wish I did it more, because it's interesting sitting in that chair in oncology and looking around and being like, this is crazy. I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
but it drives you, right? These are the things, these are the things that drive you, at
Yeah,
least
and
for
I
me.
think it's those moments that when you come out of them because you persevered and you were resilient and you kept fighting, it's you realize that that's part of the plan,
Yep.
and it actually ends up being a blessing, because I mean
Yep.
every hardship that I can think of, everything that's happened in my life, and I know in others, and the story you're sharing now, um, those are the moments when we get out of them. It's like, okay, I understand why. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And you almost, in a weird sort of way, you're almost thankful for it.
And that's a great way to put it, because it is kind of a weird sort of way. You're right. You're going through the moment. I remember I had a medical professional say, "Well, if you're going to get cancer, that's a cancer to get." Excuse me.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I got three
Yeah.
kids. Like, what does that mean?
Right.
But, being blessed, and we know so many people, we probably can scroll through our LinkedIn connections and count, unfortunately, the people that have passed. And I'm like, I'm keeping them on, I just, it, it hurts a lot sometimes,
Right.
but you, you look back and like you said, it's just those moments. And it's interesting, like, we've been around a long time now, and you go on and do these speaking engagements and trainings and things like that. And it's really interesting, just as each year passes, we start piling on that wisdom and that experience and that discernment. And then you can look at something like that and say, wow, that in a weird way has really shaped me. I haven't
Yeah.
lost perspective. And so now this thing, right? It could be as simple as,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why
yeah,
you're in this space right now.
100%. Yeah. Right. I don't discount it. I don't discount that there's a reason you felt on your heart to find time to connect before you go through the craziness of moving. I get it. And there's something bigger that even maybe one person might be able to pick up, when this goes out, just this from the conversation. But yeah, man, it's been a trip since 2015. I mean, you look great. You look well. You've been doing a lot of stuff, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you've been busy.
I've been on a roller coaster ride
Yeah.
to some degree, but it's, again, just like we are talking about, being right here and now. Uh, there's a lot of gratitude, and we're excited about the future.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what, man, it's a pleasure when somebody reaches out and wants to have a conversation like we're about to have, and even the start of this. I appreciate you, and
Yeah,
it
man.
feels good to be on with you, man.
Yeah, I know it's been a while. Now, if you don't mind, I'm personally curious. I'm excited to get into what you have and what brought you to. I mean, you're gonna rock it. you're gonna just you're gonna you're gonna do awesome. The short time that I've gotten to know you and interact with you, I know that you're gonna inspire a lot of people. And I'm curious, whatever you're comfortable sharing with from the time. I mean, the last time I saw you was 2015. I think I came to visit
Right.
you in, was it Hillsborough or Beaverton? I forget.
That was actually in Beaverton, Tigard area.
Beaverton Tiger. From, so maybe whatever you're comfortable sharing from then until now, kind of like what's transpired. I've seen, you created a program. I've seen you traveling everywhere. I've seen you do speaking engagements, talking in front of thousands of people. Like, Jarod, what have you been up to since 2014, 2015?
Well, you know what? I'll try to condense kind of the long story
Yeah,
into a short one. But first of all, being involved in the fitness industry at a very young age, we've all been there. We found our passion and purpose in fitness, and we think about the positive impact that it's had on our own lives, and we know what that feels like. And we've been wanting to share that, throughout our careers. And I've always said, I've been lucky enough to be paid for my passion, and not a lot of people can say that. So, starting out working, a service desk and eventually a personal training position, I thought those were jobs just to get me through college. And, I spoke to a counselor one day and said, why don't you just keep doing what you're doing and, see where it takes you. And so I got my degree, landed fortunately a really good position out of college. And it just, really catapulted my career being able to put something like that on my resume. And I think what fed it though, Lyle, the entire time, and we talk about passion, and it's kind of cliche, right? But it's like every single day I have the chance to enhance somebody's life and the people I work with and the people I just make contact with, whether it's on a Zoom call or in person. I would rather be talking to you in person, obviously, but that's the greatness of the fitness industry. And I've built a lot of relationships over the years. Had my ups and downs, and when I've been down, that network just is there to pick me up, right? And so I've had opportunities to be in many leadership positions. Was a partner in our own facility. Unfortunately, it didn't go the direction we envisioned. But again, that experience was a blessing in itself. That's where I learned the importance of systems and resources, and again, in reiterating that you have to surround yourself with the right people. And so since then, since you and I met, I've been working a lot with around the country with fitness entrepreneurs, those that are passionate just like us, and helping them with their businesses, boutique studio owners in particular, whether it's a CrossFit box or a functional training gym, a personal training studio, group fitness. I met my wife along the way. She was a successful 10-year boutique studio owner. She just recently sold her studio last year in Tennessee, and so she feeds my heart and soul as well. We're in this game together. But one of the biggest moments for me, Lyle, and again, this comes through those industry connections, but out of the blue, I get a call and this person says, "Hey, you've been selected as a coach for Alpha Warrior to represent the company at the U.S. Army Boss Strong competition at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You're one of 6 coaches around the country." And I was really really honored to have that opportunity, especially to work what we consider our country's most important athletes. And so I went to Fort Bragg, and I shared a little 16-foot RV with a gentleman named Yancy Culp. And Yancy, if you've ever met him, you got to have him on your podcast one of these days, because
Okay.
Yancy is a freaking character. Okay. And nobody, I'll take anybody to try to keep up with his energy. But Yancy and I shared that RV, and he was coaching a team of U.S. soldiers, based out of the Midwest. I had a group of airborne soldiers out of Vicenza, Italy, and for 16 days we competed as coaches in first and second place. We were battling, but all during that time, a friendship blossomed. And even when we left Fort Bragg, we knew we were friends for life, right? And then we were trying to figure out all these different ways that we could collaborate. Whether it be speaking, team building, something obviously in the fitness space. And Yancy was the originator of the idea for something that we ended up calling branding DEKA Fit. And he's had a long time relationship with the CEO and founder of Spartan Race, Joe DeSena. He presented an idea for an indoor fitness competition for all levels of fitness versus, the mud and the barbed wire and all the elements that come with an awesome Spartan race, right? But this was going to be something for people like you and me, and the members that we serve. and people that love functional fitness. And so Yancy called me one day out of the blue. I was actually working with some clients down in Southern Florida, and he says, "Hey, I'm with Joe DeSena right now. He wants to know if you can fly to Boston tomorrow morning." And I had my wife, then fiance, with me, and we were going to fly back to Memphis, Tennessee. And I said, "Are you okay with me heading to Boston?" He goes, "Yeah, find out what the heck that's about, you know." So 3 days later, we co-created DEKA Fit. We were going to host our first event here. Now I'm calling from Denver, Colorado, and we went around, shook hands with all the entire fitness community. We were everywhere for 3 months. And we had 1,200 people coming to our first DEKA Fit event that was going to be hosted at the Denver Broncos Training Center. Epic venue. People were excited. And unfortunately, COVID hit. And 10 days before the event, um, we had to shut down. And I, admittedly, man, I cried like a baby the whole way home. I was like, this was my chance to make a real huge impact, not just on my immediate community, but globally, right? And so about a week later, Joe calls me, and I'm thinking, okay, this is the call, because all we've been doing is spending money at this point. We weren't making money yet because we hadn't hosted an event. And he goes, "I don't know what the hell you and Yancy were doing in Denver, but to get 1,200 people with an unknown brand, what do we got to do to keep this up? Let's keep this thing going." So I was like, "You're not going to shut us down?" He goes, "Hell no." So the interesting thing is I call Yancy a mad scientist, right? He's always or spaghetti brain for that matter, and he's always thinking about some other idea before we finish the first idea. And we end up creating a couple modified versions of DEKA Fit that could actually be hosted at a studio, gym, or club. And so that's where DEKA Strong and the DEKA Mile was, just blossomed into this program where we decided, hey, let's go do a road show and test this thing. We'll offer free DEKA testing to all of these gyms. We'll bring T-shirts. We'll create a leaderboard, and we're going to go down to Florida and go up and down the coast, because we know Florida was on another planet during COVID, right? So we spent a lot of time in Florida and Texas at the time. Yancy's from Austin, Texas, and just people loved it. And then next thing you know, we're building an affiliate program. So what happened from there? It was our way of giving back to the gyms that were suffering through COVID, especially the independent gym owners. And so they were hosting, real life Spartan events, technically speaking, at their facilities. And I think what it did for them is it really positioned them, as the fitness leader in their market by hosting these types of events, because it wasn't just for their members. Their whole community would show up. Other gyms would show up. For example, at Slash Fitness in Delray Beach, Florida, we had something like 35 different gyms represented at one of their events. And, so it was just a really cool journey there, and certainly an adventure. And then when we were finally able to host at a large scale DEKA Fit event, we were finally able to do that in 2021 in Dallas. And then things just started going crazy from there. Everybody was jumping on board. And so now, what's awesome about it, I'm no longer with them, but now it's a global brand. We're in Europe, Middle East, the UK, Canada. I think Mexico is on the list. And there's over 200 facilities around the U.S. that are DEKA affiliates. So it really blossomed into something. The challenge that I had, the reason why I left was, I was doing a lot of the work except for the events remotely. And man, I felt like a caged tiger. It was like, I just am not good about being at home all day long or working in an office all day long, especially being in the fitness industry where we're fist bumping people and trying to educate, motivate and inspire people every single day. And so it was just time, but I was really proud of what we did there. And towards the end of my tenure there, I started having conversations with Lifetime, and Lifetime is definitely a giant in the industry, and they are just, I think, visionaries for the entire fitness industry. There's a lot of creativity when it comes to the company, and I admire them greatly, and just started having a conversation about this is kind of a funny story. So I've got 30 years of fitness experience, and all of this leadership experience. And when I called and talked to one of the recruiters, I said, yeah, you got any regional roles here in Denver available? And the head recruiter just started laughing. He goes, Jarod, we don't just hire somebody from the outside to take on a regional role. You got to earn your stripes, so to speak. And so the process was humbling, but I can proudly say I'm now with Lifetime, and I'm excited about what we're about to embark on here in or actually out in Oregon. We're moving this week back to Oregon,
Wow.
back to family, back to
Yeah.
friends, and
Back to
I just
sunshiny Pacific Northwest.
yeah, yeah, that's what I keep telling. That's what I
Yeah.
keep telling my Tennessee wife.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
so
always
sunny.
sunny out
It's sunny. All the white stuff outside of my house right now, it's sunshine
there.
pellets. That's
That's
it.
right.
That's amazing, man. And I think there's something really important that you had mentioned, especially being as experienced as you are, and seeing a lot, that a lot of these up and comers, these young men, these young women, or maybe even some industry veterans, but it's that understanding of it's still a process. At 30 years in, you're still learning, and you humbled yourself to this process because this organization, Lifetime, understands who they are. They understand their brand, and they understand the type of people they're looking for. And I'm just curious if you can kind of elaborate, not so much on the process, but your mindset, understanding and adjusting to this deep experience that you have, but having the awareness to say, okay, like this is I'd like to go for this, and I have to humble myself. And you're navigating these emotions, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I can only imagine, I know your experience, and to say, oh, I got to start over, how did you navigate that? So maybe someone watching can take value of how you got your mind in the right place. You got your mind right, and you started to focus and say, okay, here's how I attack this, knowing full well I'm capable, but honoring what their process was.
I think we all know this and we've heard it, but if you are the smartest one in the room, or you think you're the smartest one in the room, you better get the hell out. And I think what has helped me a lot in terms of navigating obstacles, fear, things that when you're an owner of a business, there's a lot of fear involved, as well as confidence, but there's some scary moments, and you get humbled, um, and you I think what's great about this is I feel like a rookie again, and I like being a rookie. I have a hunger for learning. And although I have this extensive experience on my resume behind me, that matters to a certain degree. But what matters most right now, Lyle, is how I use that and what I learn and how I execute going forward. A lot of people like to get stuck on their past. I can talk about my successful days with leisure sports and club sport, and man, to be honest with you, I couldn't lose for so many years, and then I got honestly on a losing streak. And then I couldn't win. I just couldn't figure it out. And but I was learning through the process, and we were talking about this earlier. Is like, man, those were game changing moments, and I'm utilizing all that now to go forward. But I wouldn't have known what I know now without those failures that I had. And so I've had people ask me, "You're going to go back to being a general manager?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This is this is like the biggest opportunity I've really had in the industry, because the more I've learned about this company, the more that it aligns with me inside of my heart and soul. You know, they attack the business of fitness, but they're more focused on the entire experience. And that means for team members and for members themselves, of their facilities. So it's always ultra focused on that experience, leading people, caring for people. We talk about winning the caring game, you know, and the financial success comes with that if you really create that type of culture, and it's authentic and it's sincere, and every single team member is protecting that code, protecting the brand, protecting the team. You and I have been there, we've all been there, right, where it's
Yeah.
like that one person that f's it up for the rest of us, that
Yeah.
made us look like shit,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, man, I don't like what that says about me as an individual. And lifetime standard is at a really high level, and there's other companies that have high levels. Leisure sports, we had high levels there, high standards, I should say. But I get to launch something in the Pacific Northwest, the place that I love, the place where my family lives, the place where my friends are, where the community and the surroundings are things that I'm very familiar with, and launch something that the Northwest has never seen before. And I'm not in a position in my life anymore where it's like, okay, this is a stepping stone to something else, right? I'm not asking what's next. Right now, I'm like maniacally focused on the now. And this is a huge opportunity. So I think what's been exciting about this is everybody that I've come across in the company, and I'm not just saying this, has aligned with my core values, like work ethic, care, um, admitting to your mistakes. All of those things just align with me. And I feel like I'm at this, as a baseball player, right? My favorite team of all time is the San Francisco Giants. And I thought I was going to play shortstop for them, you know? But to end my career with, I think, the New York Yankees of the fitness
Oof.
industry.
Oh, especially with this
Um,
whole Aaron Judge thing. Wow, that's some fighting words there, buddy.
but
That's
I would
great.
say to get that opportunity, is something that I feel sincere gratitude for. And I think I believe in the hero's journey too. You gotta be down to get back up, but you gotta keep fighting. You
And
gotta keep battling, and you gotta get one. We talk about this. I know it's cliche, but it's 1% better every day.
yeah,
And maybe that's what got me here. And I didn't get this handed to me. I had to earn it. They even had me working here in Denver and say, okay, you've said all the right things, now show us, right? And so I was like, okay, I like that. I love the challenge of that.
yeah.
So
The competitor in you, right? I think
yeah,
if you want to compete, you're going to rise to the occasion. And you brought something up that resonates with me, and I think a lot of people listening. It's going to be that hero's journey, and I don't think it gets talked about enough when we look at how we operate our businesses and steward our responsibility to motivate and uplift and lead people, to make them the hero. It's not about us. It's being a guide. And I'm curious for you to build that resiliency, for you to find that humility, and through that streak of wins and then losses. What was it? Is it something innate? Did you train yourself mentally? Did you read a number of books? What was it that developed that muscle of discipline, that developed that mindset of, I'm going to keep competing, but I'm going to be humble? What were some of the things you did, or the people that influenced that
yeah.
might people watching couldn't take value from?
Well, I think one, as a longtime outdoors person, where I've been lucky to summit Mount Hood 93 times, right? And mountain climbing it gets really mental as much as that it is physical. Sometimes you just want to turn back around, and but I think you have to, and on the mountain myself, there's been some serious consequences and failures that I've been around. Was on mountain rescue for a while, but I use climbing as an analogy for life. It's I think sometimes we look at the entire mountain and we get overwhelmed, right? But if you just look right in front of you and it's 1 foot forward every time, and even if you slip back one or two steps, you just focus on the climb in short little chunks, right? And then turn around and see how far you've come. Um, and that's the mindset that I think I've always had internally. um, and there's been times where I've lost friends in the mountains, and those are the failures. But what it does is the mountain, just like life, you can't control it. You just have to control how you react to it. And so I think for me, it was always about effort no matter what, and perseverance and resilience. And when a good climber is diligent, right? Diligent about their gear, how much gear they take, how much they've trained. And if you apply those same principles to life, I think you're you're going to be maximizing your potential. But then it's also who you surround yourself with. And I, fortunately for myself, have I don't really look at it like I've got all these friends, right? Or all this huge gigantic network. But I've got what I call the fist. Okay, 5 friends that I can depend on, that are going to go to battle for me. And this is the fist of friends I need the most. Like, there's people like Yancy Culp. Yancy Culp is, I know, no matter what, no matter if we're working together, my brother's always going to be there. You and I both know Todd Durkin. Todd Durkin, him and I, to this day, we were texting back and forth yesterday, always checking in on one another, asking each other for advice. And that list goes on. My wife, my wife, man. I mean, on this last journey, I mean, there was times of doubt, brother. I mean, and I didn't even know if I was really going to get this opportunity, but I was fighting every day. But I had somebody in my corner every day to help me get through it, you know. And I'm just so thankful for that. And she's been that influence for me to lean into faith more than I ever have in my entire life. So God's a big part of that fist. And then I think the motivation for family. It's again, you have to have purpose, something that you wake up for every single day for that fight. And as it doesn't matter if you're a mom or a dad, but we've got a responsibility. And my kids are all grown up and they can self-sustain themselves, but I want to make sure that I leave them with something, you know and so I think that's always the driving force, is that pact that's within the fist.
Yeah, and that mountain analogy I think is amazing, because there's at each step it can go either way, and you've shared stories with me, and the intensity of it. And one thing that I do remember you talking about is the amount of preparation that goes into it. A lot of times people just see the climb, and they don't know the context of what it took in the framework, what it took to get to that climb. And I think that's something that someone that's in the club, that is a trainer, that is working reception, that has aspirations, what would you say to them, using that analogy of, they have this personal goal to climb this mountain, to maybe be an entrepreneur, to own a gym, to be a regional?
Mm-hmm.
What type of insights would you give this young person, or maybe it's an older person just starting, and they have this burning desire to be best prepared when the opportunity to quote unquote climb would be? What would those tips be to prepare yourselves? What's your preparation plan to attack the day?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just from the mistakes I've made personally. But number one, remove your ego. Um, I see a lot of trainers and hear trainers even when I'm at the gym. Um, they're just they don't understand, like, you're not managing people. You're coaching people. And I've mentioned this earlier. Educating them, motivating them, inspiring with them, engaging with them, holding them accountable, by being graciously direct, you know, um, and you have a responsibility to ensure that they are taking care of themselves on a daily basis. So you need to be ultra disciplined about tracking progress and celebrating that progress, keeping them at a high level, because it's never the equipment and the facilities that keep people coming back. It's the relationships. So the first thing is build strong relationships, build that community. I think also within that you've got to be a great teammate, a great teammate. Um, that's how you build influence, and I think that's become even more and more important in this social media world. Okay, we see the social media trainer out there. Okay, we cringe at it a little bit, admittedly, but it's that fitness pro, whether you're a small group coach, a large group coach, or a one-on-one, the one that's in the trenches every single day. Those are my favorites. Those are the one really playing the game, and doing it the I think the best way, because they have so much impact on people. So I think, um, that means when that alarm goes off at 4 o'clock a.m. or 4:30 a.m., we remember those days, right? It's remember why you're waking up. You know, like if you see that schedule and you're saying, oh, I got to see 10 to 16 people or whatever, I got to light this world on fire. Man, what a great gift, you know? So remember your purpose, is another thing I would say. And as far as building your business, or going out on your own, respect that you have your own business to build where you are right now. For example, if you're a studio trainer, it's a gift to be surrounded by a community that's built in, and the same goes if whether you're at a Lifetime or another large multi-purpose, facility. What a great sidewalk to have, like in our facilities, we'll see anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 visitors a day, man. And if you can't sell training with that many people coming in through, maybe this isn't the right profession for you. And it's really not about sales, it's about creating experiences. So I think that's the other thing with the technical trainer. I think it's awesome that they have the skill set to get somebody better, but it doesn't mean anything unless they can keep them coming back. So they have to be more well-rounded and continue to learn how to be more influential. Those are the things that I focus on no matter what position I'm in, is how can I be a better leader? How can I be a better teammate? How can I be a better supporter? Because all of those things will come back, even though you're not out there looking for that, like I'm going to give to get. But it is one of those things that comes back around if you keep giving. And I think that's what that's where there's a lot of misses when it comes to our profession. If you keep giving, you are going to get back. You're going
Yeah.
to get something that escalates you in your career, and that maximizes your potential. But
Yeah,
you
isn't it
also
true that
can't be
we
afraid to
notice a lot of people quit when I just really love your point you just made. Sorry to interrupt, but I just think it was a great point. Is that keep giving because it doesn't stop when they become a member or they become a customer of your business. It's just getting started. And it sounds so cliche, but to your point, you have to continually give, right? We all talk, EFT sets you free or whatever, whoever's watching this in whatever vertical that they're in. But that consistency in giving is going to be key because, yes, the social media age that we live in, their perception of your brand is going to be top of mind. It's going to be how their interaction is with you. And I'm curious that competitive drive, you can hear it in your voice and in your body language even, and in your eyes. What did it take to develop when you didn't feel like it? Because as you're talking, I am thinking about from sleeping in a restroom to try to make it happen, 4:30 in the morning, commuting 6 hours, because there's things that just had to happen, but we knew we had to make it happen, but sometimes we didn't feel like it. Mm-hmm. When we know that at the core to be successful is to continually give and to continually grind, when you're not in that headspace, and I can only imagine when you have to climb, and I'm sure there's an analogy in there. What do you tell even the veteran, but someone coming up, regardless of what business they're in? How do you get yourself there to kind of reset, to prepare yourself to do that work, but get yourself in that right mind frame?
I think an exercise that you have to do is you need to recalibrate. You need to. It's not necessarily take a break, but it's actually to rediscover or review why you're there in the first place. Like, why did you get involved in this? Whether it's a fitness profession or another industry, right? Why did you get involved in that? And and I know that's cliche. The Simon Sinek, understand your why. I think my motivator though, Lyle, to be honest with you, it's always been is fear of not remaining relevant at what I do. And it doesn't mean it's not an ego thing that I'm talking about. It's something that when you lose relevancy, you lose influence. And when you lose influence, you get further and further away from winning the game. Right. And I think about this even with my own fitness, right? If I take a couple of days off, I might fall behind of that person I was 3 days ago. I don't want to, I wouldn't say I'm fighting the 25-year-old self. I still think I can beat my 30-year-old self. Right. But I fear not being able to compete with that 30-year-old self. And I think it's, that's part of my drive. And that's not necessarily, I think something that a solution that people want to follow is fear. But I know that, for example, if I don't show up in the mountains and train in the mountains, my biggest fear is not having fun while I'm in the mountains, because I'm not in the physical state and when you're not in the physical state, it affects the mental and the emotional state. So the best thing I can do, and I think maybe we talked about this before, is, many years ago, I wrote a companion book to a workshop I used to present. It's called Work Like an Athlete. And a Work Like an Athlete takes all of those principles to be in, not just your greatest athletic self or how you approach your job like an athlete does his or her sport, but also how to be a great teammate and how to sustain winning, And I think when you don't feel like it, those are the days that you have the biggest opportunity to win. Because if you do it anyway, then what that does is when you look in the mirror, you go, okay, you feel a little stronger from within, you look at yourself a little bit differently, because those days that you don't feel like doing it, but you do it anyway, you kind of get this warrior-like mentality inside of your head.
And I'm curious with that mindset that you have now in this new endeavor that you're about to embark on. What's your mindset now? Like, here you are, you went through the process. I mean, congratulations. First off, I didn't say that. I should have said that. Congrats, man. Um, Anyone that's in the fitness industry knows who Lifetime is. They know the quality, and they've done a fantastic job of branding. And now you're going to lead. Are you allowed to say where you're going to go?
Yes,
What's
yes. We're going to be launching a new Lifetime in Beaverton, Oregon.
ooh,
Um, it is. It's going to be approximately 125,000 square feet of athletic country club space, and then another 30,000 of beach club space, and with outdoor pools and slides for the kids, but also outdoor, pools for the lap swimmer, or for the swimmers themselves. And then it's also, what makes it unique is there's going to be a 40,000 square foot co-working space as well. So it's called Lifetime Work, and this is part of Bahram Akradi's vision, that he's creating these micro villages, so to speak. So not only do you have a healthy place to work, but also a healthy place to, recreate, train, connect with other people that are like-minded, and building those types of communities. And the company is also, they recently built two living spaces, so really beautiful condos, in addition to workspaces and the athletic country club concept. So this is going to be something the Northwest has never seen. It's going to be a standalone. That's why it took a little bit longer for them to select an external candidate, because it's such a major endeavor for the company. I just, I sent a fly through to a few candidates the other day, and every time I must look at it twice every time I see it, because it is going to be really, really a special place, for ultimately that community, not just in Beaverton, but the whole entire Portland area. Um, so we're excited about it. Like, my wife is excited. My daughter moved back to the Northwest after living here in Denver, for a short period. My youngest is heading back from Copper Mountain here in Colorado back to Portland during the summer. And I think it gives a built-in community for my wife to feel as comfortable as possible. Of course, I still have a lot of friendships there. So it checks all the boxes, because for me professionally, this is exactly the company I want to be with, and to get the opportunity I've been given to build my own team. I mean, Lyle, you know this. When you get to build your own team from scratch, we actually made our first hire yesterday, and I was geeked out about the first teammate, right? And so that's exciting. And then, from a personal standpoint, to be back with my girls, and for my wife to enjoy where we're going, and to be close to Mount Hood again, my home away from home. I couldn't be more amped. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I'm learning right now, big time, and I love it. I love being a student.
and with all of those just like really heart filling things you just said about taking on this opportunity and being part of the team and leading them from a professional side, what would look like a success to you with the experience that you have, the ups and downs? In your mind's eye, when you imagine, this is what I'm pushing for. This is what I want to win this way when I go back home. What does that look like to you a year, 5 years from now, as you embark on this new chapter that you've really been competing and you're so happy to be a part of? How does it look?
That's a great question. I would say the way it looks for me is, you know, putting together that team, and being a leader that they trust. Um, I've made mistakes, plenty of mistakes as a leader in the past, and have learned, sometimes in the toughest way, that how I need to improve as a leader. So I think number one is, if we could somehow objectively measure it, I want our team to feel cared for, and excited about how they're led and supported from me. And hopefully they'll be able to say positive things when it comes to that, not just about me, but the culture that we've created together. So I think that's first and foremost. Secondly, obviously we got some big goals. This isn't a cheap investment by the company by any means, and we have to achieve those metrics. And so right now I think we're going to the way it looks is we're going to be competing versus ourselves to start off with. Like this is what we need to accomplish for this to be successful. But then, the competitive side of me says, okay, I want to be the number one performing business in the Pacific region for Lifetime. And then I want to take it even further. And how does that work nationally? So I think my main emphasis as far as success goes is us maximizing everything that we can do for this business. And that starts with the culture, and that starts with the integration between the team that we built and the members that we serve. And then the other part of that is how involved are we in the community, supporting the community. That's a big aspect. So again, we want to win the caring game in all three aspects. And then I think personally it's just having deeper connections, with friends. This, being a fitness guy for as long as we've been, that's where our communities are found. That's where our friendships, our deepest relationships are, because we're a bunch of like-minded people. We love maximizing our health. We believe at Lifetime, we talk about it all the time. I've been with the company for 2 months, but it's healthy way of life. And that's a demand of me as a general manager to be a representative of that. And everybody's version of health is different, but I want to make sure that all of our people are being tended to so that they can achieve ultimately what they want to achieve, because we make a lot of promises in the fitness industry about what we can do for you. Well, I want to live up to those promises to everybody who enters and exits through our doors.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, I've loved everything you said, and I think I think kind of a takeaway I'd love, if you don't mind, is to do kind of like to finish a little kind of quick association, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm just curious because you got so much knowledge. So a couple quick questions, and then I'll let you go. I've been so grateful for your time and amazing insights. But
Thank you.
yeah, man. So first thing that you do in the morning, like what is the first thing you do in the morning to get prepared? Is it drink coffee? Brush your teeth, obviously. But what's that
I,
first
I
thing?
do I do love my coffee. I do the last couple months, and I always try to stay on this streak, but I'll go through the Bible app, and I'll spend anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes, just kind of breathing through it. um, Breathe it in, breathe it out. um, it's definitely made a difference in my life. I've never been in this space when it comes to my faith.
Yeah.
And man, it's done a lot for me mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
um,
And I want to be on the record of saying I'd love to be someone you can reach out to, because I'm going through that as well. I'm going through a season of um, really finding the discipline to connect to my faith, and so I want to extend just this invitation to connect, to shoot me a text of,
Absolutely.
and I'll do the same of encouragement, because I think we need it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's always been a big part of my wife's life. And she's definitely had some influence, and it's brought us even closer together. But you know what, if I was to also share something, we know this, that first task of the day, that first win of the day: make your bed.
Yeah,
Dude,
I could
I've been
see the admiral. I think is the admiral that.
yeah, Admiral McRaven.
Yeah, yeah,
Man, I still live by that. if that bed is unmade, I do not feel right. I've been making
Yeah,
my bed since I was 4 or 5 years old, you
that's
know?
that's
And so when
awesome.
I saw that speech by Admiral McRaven, I'm like, oh man, I've got a chance at life.
That's awesome. Now, what's your go-to post workout food fuel?
Post, I'm always hitting the protein shake or something like that. But that to me, every workout, and here's what's changed for me. I've been a long time my zone user, right?
Yeah,
So I was always about 200 reps, 200 reps, 200 reps, right? And honestly, I started thinking like sometimes a 200 rep workout isn't that smart, right? And I'm a coach by trade, right? And so it's like I don't even follow my own program sometimes.
that's funny.
And so I've given myself a little bit of a break. If it was 100 mepper versus 200, but I was training like an athlete, preparing for what I do on the mountain, and it was something that's going to make me ultimately stronger, it doesn't matter what my numbers were. Okay. It matters that I did it, and that's the win. And sometimes, man, that's 30 minutes instead of an hour, hour and a half. And I used to be really hard on myself if I didn't get a full hour or whatever the objective was.
Yeah,
But if I get 30 minutes of solid movement, that's a good thing.
yeah,
And maybe I go a little bit longer the next day, but every every workout is a win. Every workout is like, I don't know. I'm sure you get this feeling too. It's just like every workout is a victory, and you just feel like the pillars are complete. The physical, mental, and emotional, no matter how long it is.
yeah, yeah. And I'm curious. Uh, Not in this industry, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't,
Yeah, not in this industry at all.
ah, there's there's a few different professions I've always thought about if I wasn't in this, and um, it could have been in the military, um, could have been in serving my community, either police or fire. And what's always attracted me to those groups, Lyle, is the camaraderie.
Yeah,
You know, that's what I've always enjoyed, because I have friends that are policemen, retired policemen, firefighters, military, and I crave that camaraderie, and
yeah,
that's what I get from you know hanging with a bunch of people that love the mountains.
yeah,
It's that camaraderie. Like I just love that.
yeah,
So I think it would have to be something like that. It definitely wouldn't be something where I sit at a desk all day though.
yeah, yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, knowing you, you would probably
Yeah,
break
I
the
just
desk.
can't. Yeah, I can't sit for too long.
Yeah. Last two. Is there a quote or a saying that you keep close to you, that helps you through times or motivates you? What would that be?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you asked that, because I had a conversation last night with my mother. We were FaceTiming with her last night, and my mom quotes me so much.
Your mom
Like,
quotes you.
yeah, she'll like when I'm having a hard time, my mom will use some of my quotes to remind me, like, hey,
Mm,
you said this. Are you executing this? Right?
wow.
So the one we talked about last night that I think is important to remember, especially in the leadership realm, is the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. And that has always been something for a long time. I'm talking decades, that I haven't always been great as the wolf. And now I'm starting to get it, what I have to do. And we've got to rely on each other. We're in it together. And it's not me saying you do this or you do that. It's us, it's we, it's ours. We're in it together. And what I am as a leader is your support system, and somebody to help you get to where you want to go, and
Yeah, that's great, man.
vice versa.
That's great. And last one, for someone that is really has this desire to take the next step. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be fitness, could be another vertical. Um, what would be that next step? Maybe they don't find themselves where they want to be,
Mm-hmm.
but the next step for you, climbing the mountain, I really like how you articulated that. What would you tell that young man, young woman that just maybe not there, just, but what's the next step? And what words of encouragement can you tell them?
Well, I would say this, we hear this quote a lot is ready, fire, aim, right? And I'm not a ready, fire, aim guy. I've done it and I've always end up shooting myself in the foot. Um, and I think, yes, you can take a leap of faith into yourself, but do your homework, really dig in deep. Think about the consequences. I think I got into some things that had I thought more about the consequences, I would have made different decisions. And again, I wouldn't be here without making those mistakes. But if you want to limit your mistakes, really do your homework before you take that next step. If you're a fitness professional and you want to go build your own dream facility, okay, keep that dream in perspective and listen to your support system. I remember Todd Durkin tell me, he said, he basically told me to start small, grow big. And instead, I started big and it didn't work out, right? And so I think you have to listen to those whispers. If there's a concern there, I think we talk so much about motivation, inspiration, and it all sounds good on social, right? And I want people to attack their dreams, but attack them in a calculated manner, and you'll be better off for that. And I think start small. And when they say trust the process, I finally understand that. I finally understand that. Trust the process. Sometimes it takes a long time getting to where you want to go, but trust it and just keep fighting. So, and then I think as far as not knowing, maybe you make a wrong decision or you find out that's not your thing, keep exploring, keep learning. An example that I'm excited about is I've never overseen a co-working space, you know, man, I get to learn about that. That to me is exciting. So it's just look at what else is out there too, and but I think you really have to put some thought into things, but then you got to execute a little bit every single day towards that goal.